You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
It's 21 questions presented by our good friends at Macadoodles. I'm here with my good friend Craig Stout, possibly the biggest Macadoodles fan at KC Sports Network. No, he is the biggest Macadoodles fan at KC Sports Network, aren't you, Craig?
Unquestionably, I might, maybe in the world. I might be the biggest Macadoodles fan in the world. As I've explained multiple times on this very podcast, I was visiting Macadoodles for decades, literal decades before we landed them as a sponsor. They're one of my very favorite liquor stores, and they are now in Lee's Summit, Missouri. They are wide open. I cannot wait to get up there, to get to that new store, to hang out there. It's going to be a good time. If you're up there in Kansas City, that is your new spot to go get liquor. Go there. You're going to be best prices, best service, best recommendations, best selection, best everything. Like, just they cultivate happiness at that liquor store. So go there and be happy. And we appreciate them making us happy by being one of our primary sponsors for this show.
It's a unique experience out there. I've learned at a Macadoodles, so it's great. This 21 questions. These are questions asked by the subscribers of the KCSN Substack. You get access to the Discord channel, which is a just thriving, awesome community of Chiefs fans that and fans of other stuff. We just have all kinds of conversations going all the time on there. So go check that out. Subscription to the KCSN Substack gets you access to the Discord. That's where we get all these questions and a ton of really cool conversations and fun things that happen over there. So I think the description or the link is in the description of this show if you want to try to access that as well. Yep. We'll start with Gooby35. Looking at the rest of the regular season schedule, what game are you most concerned about, Craig?
I mean, I think the easy answer is the Bengals with Jamar Chase. Caveat there. It's got to be with Jamar Chase. If they don't have Jamar Chase, I'm not worried about him. So I'm not going to take the easy answer, though. Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are a little bit salty. Geno Smith is obviously playing well above what we've ever seen him play, and that defense is playing better than the sum of its parts. Now, it's a game that I think the Chiefs will be favored in and should win, but like that's a little bit of a salty game there, especially if the Seahawks decide that they're just going to lean on the legs of Kenneth Walker and allow Geno Smith to get the play action deep passing game going. Like that could spell trouble. Like that's a little bit of trouble for the Chiefs defense.
Let Geno cook. The low-hanging fruit is this week, though. I think this the magnitude of this game cannot be overstated against the Chargers. It's a huge one. I think this is. I got some stuff that'll be cooking in the KCSN Substack as well about this. Robbie asks, Craig and Tucker convinced me to go to the draft in last week's show. So will there be a KC event / meetup for the draft? There will be plenty of KCSN things going on. So just that is, I am not allowed to say anything, but there's plenty of stuff in the works. It's going to be, I can't wait for draft season. I mean, it's always obviously a big thing for all of us here. We are going to have a great time with the draft being in Kansas City. And yes, it'll be worth it. Z Andera asks, behind Chris Jones, who is playing like our second best defender at this current moment, Gregory?
Ooh. I think I'm going to say Colin Saunders. There's a lot of guys that could contend for that. Like I might even throw Trent McDuffie in there.
I was going to say I'm ready to risk it all for Trent.
Yeah. No, I'm going to say Colin. Colin is playing incredible. Like he really is. He's doing things along the defensive line. They're making things so much easier for the linebackers. Nick Bolton has 8 tackles for loss this season, and a lot of them I can remember are because he's playing behind Colin, because Colin is gaining penetration or closing a gap or just making things easier up front. We talk about it all the time, the defensive film breakdown, but I think that Colin is having a much bigger impact, a bigger ripple effect on the entire defense with his play there. More negative plays, more freedom for everybody else to do stuff. And he's obviously just doing a whole bunch of great things that we all see, snap after snap on the broadcast view, and a lot of the dirty work as well.
Gowsley asks, are the Chiefs and Dolphins on a collision course to beat in the playoffs? Yeah, there's a chance. Like, obviously, I think both those teams are definitely going to be in the playoffs. That's going to be tremendous content if they do. And I mean, obviously, I don't think that the NFL can really help sway that in any way, shape, or form. But it does seem like there's some chances that could happen, because like I think the Bills are gonna win the division. I think they'll be the AFC East, champs. I don't think the Chiefs will be in the 2-7 matchup with the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins will probably be the 5 seed if they're not the 1 seed, the way it's shaping up. So you're looking at, you might need an upset or two. We'll see what happens there, but it's in the realm of possibility.
I think what the NFL wants the most in the AFC playoffs, Chiefs get the 1 seed. Let's just go ahead and say Chiefs get the 1 seed. They would want that very next matchup would be the Dolphins winning their wild card matchup, going to Kansas City, and then they want the Chiefs to win so that they can then play the Bills. Those are the two biggest money games that's available in the AFC right now. So I think that, yes, there is a crash course there at one stage or another in the playoffs between those two teams.
Grayson Jaspers asked who could replace Juju's role, Marquez Valdez-Scantling's role, and McColl's role in the draft. So I'm not going to Maddie answer entirely. I think Sky Moore's involvement and I think Kadarius Toney's involvement are probably going to be a bigger factor in next year's offense than I think when you're looking at these 3 potential guys that can go out. So like, if you're looking at who can replace McColl, Kadarius Toney can do a lot of the things that he can do. MVS and Juju, obviously a little trickier with Sky Moore. I think things kind of, change a little bit offensively. As far as who the Chiefs could draft, I'm just going to ask you, Craig. I don't think Quentin Johnson would be fun. I don't think the Chiefs are drafting a receiver though.
I don't know that they would spend a round 1 pick, but if you want a guy that can replace all their roles, Quentin Johnson would be a nice fit.
I mean,
like, he's got the physical stuff from Juju. He's got the speed that a McColl or an MVS has. He's got the length of MVS. So, and he's a much better ball tracker than those other 2 guys on the vertical plane. So, like, Quentin Johnson would be fun as hell. Like, he would be so fun in this offense. If you want one dude, that's my dude this year. But he also might go before the Chiefs even pick. He's that good of a receiver.
I'll just be stunned if they go receiver early. I think, I think it's more like, and I know that's not maybe that's not necessarily the spirit of the answer or of the question, and maybe not what Grayson wanted, but like, man, I don't even think it's a super realistic scenario that they go big at receiver in round 1. So Quentin Johnson,
I think value has to fall. I think that's what it's got to be. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, if you look at a group with Quentin Johnson, Kadarius Toney, and Sky Moore, that's a fun group. I mean, that's a fun group.
So fun. So fun.
MVS is on the roster next year too. So, I mean, I don't know. There's plenty to think about there. Positive Atosti asks, based on his performance this year, what is the contract that Orlando Brown Jr. deserves, Craig?
The one that they offered him last year. Cap's going up, so naturally the price tag of everything is going to go up. Tackles are about to get really expensive. There's going to be a bunch of dudes that are hitting the market and getting paid a lot of money, probably this offseason for some of those guys on rookie deals, and then definitely next offseason. I think if the Chiefs offered the same deal that they offered this past year, which is going to include a whole bunch of funny money at the end, but if they offered that same deal, that roughly that same APY, I think he's played that well, and it kind of rectifies things for the Chiefs, and it also doesn't break you when it comes to the cap. Orlando Brown Jr. has been playing a lot better as of late, a lot better. We're seeing that upswing towards the end of the year again. So if he continues out the season, he's well worth that again.
I'm curious if he takes it.
Yeah. I mean, he shouldn't. He should just play on the tag again. If he was willing to play on the tag this year, then he should play on the tag next year. So
the this Orlando Browns saga last year was so bizarre, and I'm his contract negotiation and the story surrounding it. I'm not looking forward to. Hopefully, it's just a quick, seamless, easy train. They get him done on a deal and it's fair, and but like I'm not overly optimistic. I think we're in for another similar offseason this year potentially, even though a little bit less leverage is gone because it's just another tag year. But I'm it's going to be interesting. I really think that. Mike Denny, our guy, are you team downtown K? If so, what would you want to see done with the space where the K currently is? Craig, are you hyped?
Oh, I'm hyped. I am team downtown baseball stadium. I love downtown baseball stadiums. I know that people are going to say, well, what about tailgating? What about all that stuff? I get it. I get all those arguments, and I got no good solution because they're going to funnel you through like Power and Light or through something like that, and that's where they're going to have it happen. That's going to suck. And I'm not saying that it's going to be any better, but I love downtown baseball. Every downtown baseball stadium that I've ever been to, it's always been such a positive and cool experience, and things kind of build up around that. Like I'm thinking specifically of Denver, the Rocky Stadium.
It's so cool.
Oh, it's so cool to just walk down there, just hang out, grab some beers, mosey on into the stadium. It's really fun to be able to do all of that. So that being said, if the K isn't out there at Truman Sports Complex anymore, I think it's time to build a new stadium or a new practice facility out there for the Chiefs. Something has to happen. And I think the Chiefs are just going to take it over. Tailgating will still happen in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium. That's not going to change. But I think that the Chiefs are just going to sprawl out, take it over, put some new digs in there. They're certainly making money hand over fist with Patrick Mahomes right now. I think they'll strike while they can and just funnel that into new facilities.
I'll put a pin in the new K or in the where the K is currently. I'll put a pin in that. I am also team downtown K. I would love the idea of that moving, downtown. I think there's some areas of the downtown that could help kind of revitalize a little bit too and present some economic value there. But like, I actually kind of work pretty close to the stadiums, and the area surrounding it, just there's not a ton of restaurants. You got to go 7-8 miles away to find a bunch of restaurants. There's a Gates there. I'll go to lunch from sometime off 40 Highway, but there's just not a ton of restaurants. Like there's a Taco Bell across the street from the facility, or from the stadiums, and it's just there's just not a ton kind of going on around that area. Where if you build a downtown stadium, you've got restaurants, right? Like you talk about, I went down to Rocky Stadium, to Coors Field, and we had a really nice dinner, before we went into the game. And I mean, it was a little bit crazy getting out of there for sure. Like, like it's a little bit, I get
traffic's going to be a nightmare, but I think people forget how much of a nightmare it can be getting out of the Truman Sports Complex as well.
Not as much when the Royals are playing.
Well,
not as much. It's coming. It's coming. Okay. It's coming. But I am very much team downtown. Build a new Arrowhead. I think the last we kind of heard is they're making some some upgrades to Arrowhead in the very near future. But man, I don't know if I would hate a new Arrowhead. I know some people are gonna not like that take, but I think it'd be kind of cool to see the house that Mahomes built and what it looks like. And maybe it's a dome, and maybe you host a Super Bowl because you turn it into a dome, and I don't know, or a retractable roof. Are you, Craig? Are you about to you what's so funny? Like what?
Nothing. Okay. Nothing. I'm hacking up a lung over here. I'm doing what you were doing like 4 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Sorry, did I give it to you? I haven't seen you since, but
No. It'd be better if you
had. We are going to take a break to let Tucker D. Franklin talk about Liquid Death.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but I have to tell you about some of these strange tall boys of beer that you might see in the bottled water section of your favorite store. Well, it's not actually beer. It's a liquid mountain spring water company from the Alps, and it's called Liquid Death. And you might be wondering, Tucker, why is it called Liquid Death? Well, let me tell you, it's because they'll brutally murder your thirst. That's right. Not only are they going to brutally murder your thirst, they are going to brutally murder plastic pollution in the process. It's wonderful with their infinitely recyclable aluminum cans. They also donate 10% of their proceeds from every can sold to help kill plastic pollution. It's great. They've got 4 flavors. They have regular sparkling water. They've got still water, which is the mountain spring water, and they have mango. They have berry flavored, and they also have the one I like here, the severed lime. I'm going to go ahead and crack it on open. And you can get a Liquid Death at your local Target, Walmart, 7-Eleven, or find a Liquid Death retailer near you with their store locator tool at liquiddeath.com/KCSN. That's liquiddeath.com/KCSN.
Me, Tucker, Craig, all wearing the same hoodie right now too. Just great. And me and Tucker have a lot in common because we both like Liquid Death as well. I'm sure you do too, Craig. But I've actually had some recently that I have right here, so it's real nice. Zach Oracle Fomagorkin, what contract would you negotiate with Frank Clark to have him return?
I mean, this is tough because I'm a big proponent of Bill Parcells' like progress stoppers mentality. And Frank Clark is a good football player, and I'm glad that he is on this roster this year. I would be looking to see if they can get younger. And Brett Veach, I think, is going to look to see if he can get younger. I think if they had another younger option, that Frank Clark wouldn't be on this roster this past year. Obviously, they restructured. They were able to make something work. We are glad for that with the defensive end room the way that it is. I don't know. There's obviously a low number that I would be more than happy to have a veteran player like that on the roster, but I'm also kind of sort of ready to move forward and to see what else that the Chiefs can do here, see what they can get on the field, somebody that can be on the field maybe a little bit more, not dealing with the amount of issues that he is. And obviously we hope that he gets those fixed, but availability is your best ability. So, if you can't be on the field, take a swing at another young guy, take another swing, try and find another Karlaftis or something, and just see if you can find somebody that can play like Frank Clark has played for the past several years.
Yeah, this is going to sound weird. Like you talk about progress stopper. I don't know if Frank Clark is necessarily a progress stopper for me, but what I do think is he's a crutch for Steve Spagnuolo. And I think that's the thing that I kind of come back to, where I do think Steve Spagnuolo has a tendency to want to kind of lean on guys that have been here, guys that know what he wants out of them, what he expects out of them, into a fault. So like I don't want to criticize Spags to call him a progress stopper either, because like that's not fair. But I do feel like there are guys that he'll lean on as a crutch. And so if you're bringing Frank Clark back on a reasonable contract, what does that do for the development of some of your other younger guys? And I think that's the thing. It's in the same vein. If you can trust Spags to not, stunt the growth of maybe a younger guy, I have zero problems bringing him back on a contract, honestly. So no chicken tonight. 17-game asterisk aside, does Patrick Mahomes have a legitimate shot at 5,477 passing yards this season? Averaging 318 yards per game the rest of the way would get it done. Imagine week 18 taking the record away from the Broncos while playing the Raiders. I think it's in the realm of possibility. I don't think I'm banking on it. 318 yards per game is a lot.
It is.
It's a lot. 5,000. If you want to set the line at 5K, I'll listen. I think that's very reasonable. 318's tough though, man. 318's a lot.
Kent, do you remember the last time that he threw for under 318 in a game?
Oh, no.
It was week 5 against the Raiders. Every game since then, he has eclipsed that number. So he is now, that's right, sir. He's on pace right now. If he just finishes the season with the averages that he's had so far this season, would have 5,545 yards. That is what it will be for a 17-game season. So he does have a shot at that record just by playing the same exact way that he's been playing. Obviously, if he keeps turning it up here, because again, the last several weeks here, you've got against Buffalo 338, against San Francisco 423, against Tennessee, we remember the 446, and then last weekend against Jacksonville 331. Man's slinging it all over the yard with a whole bunch of players, whole bunch of different receivers too. So, I mean, I think he's going to get it.
The thing that's also in the back of my mind, though, with this is they may not be playing week 18. And, like, that's the other thing, like, just sitting in the back of my head is, like, this team may not even be playing. Like, that's one game that could take that away from them. And so, like, I don't know, man. That's tough. That's tough.
Andy won't. He's not going to risk anything, especially against the Broncos that have an actual good defense. Like he's not going to risk anything by trotting him out there to try and get a record that only matters to Patrick. Like no, and Patrick won't want to do it either.
Are we sure? Are we sure how much it matters to the Mahomes either that he want to?
I don't think it does. I don't think it does. Although if he's even close to it, man, just go ahead, bubble wrap that MVP and start sending it Kansas City's way.
Hope you got Mahomes with one of those free bets you got on DraftKings.
I did.
Might pay off for you. 9-1.
Not an ad.
Biggs 55. It's the divisional round of the playoffs. Rank these teams in terms of who you want to play the most to the least. Miami, Buffalo, Baltimore, Cincinnati, and the Chargers. Seems like any of those teams could lose their division and make for a top tier 6 seed. The team I least want to play is Buffalo still.
Yeah.
100,000% large gap. Buffalo, large gap for me. Second team I'd least want to play. Actually Miami, believe it or not. Cincinnati sits there in the middle for me. Baltimore, then the Chargers, I think. So the team I want to play most of the Chargers, then Baltimore, then Cincy.
What's your logic on Baltimore? That pass defense is just rough, and so you would expect that you'd be able to churn out some yardage and be able to control the game a little bit more on that one?
Well, I'm not a Lamar hater.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar doesn't pass consistently enough to sustain success in the playoffs. So I'm fine taking that. So that's a big factor for me.
I might flip those two just because of game plan. Just defending Lamar is different than defending Burrow. You hit Burrow enough times. Like, I mean, he's not going to quit or anything like that, but that offensive line is trash. And Justin Houston's having a hell of a year over there for Baltimore. Yeah. Like, he's having a hell of a year.
He'll be
motivated. So, but yeah, I think we all agree. Chargers, bottom of this pile. If the Patriots were in here, if you wanted to throw them in there, which currently they are, that they would clearly be the bottom.
Oh yeah, I'd rather play the Patriots. Yeah, no doubt about it. Grayson asks, grape or strawberry jelly, and crunchy or creamy peanut butter. It's a great question.
I mean, strawberry jelly, clearly. I mean, that's an easy one there. And then it's weird for me because I buy the all natural stuff. So there's inherently
it's basically just
of crunch. Yeah.
That doesn't count. No, that doesn't count.
So crunchy.
Okay. Your regular old Peter Pan. You're taking the crunchy. We're not this natural crap.
I don't know that it's not crap. I don't know that I have a strong opinion either way between one of the two of them. The strawberry jelly, yes, but not one way or the other on the peanut butter.
The correct answer is strawberry jelly and crunchy peanut butter. But the Maddie answer that might be more correct is it doesn't matter. All of them are great. Now, if you want to, I know you're gonna stand for strawberry jelly. I'm not turning my nose at a grape and peanut butter or grape jelly and peanut butter sandwich. And it's still gonna be good, and you're still gonna like it. Are you gonna turn your nose at that, you snob?
Am I gonna turn that? No, I'm just thinking my life choices because we kind of aligned on a food take, and I think we all. I think we all know where I should be aligned, and now I'm confused. So
It kind of, I'll be honest with you, it kind of feels like anytime I'm on the show, there are more food questions because there's a genuine curiosity about some of my food takes, which my food takes are not as bad as Craig and Maddie try to make them sound. I
That's what you think.
refuse. I refuse to accept this slander. But it is funny to. I just feels like I get a lot of food questions when I'm on the show. Okay, let's see here. Joel Penfood, how close are you to getting irrational about Kadarius Toney?
Oh man, I'm the wet blanket right now, so I'm not close yet. Now you want to tell me another 2 weeks playing like you did? I will be irrational. I will be completely irrational here. Kent is irrational. I think I can safely say that you definitely are irrational about the man. You go off.
What about what we've seen isn't repeatable?
It is.
Exactly.
It is. I want to see more wide receiver things. That's all. I am not trying to dunk on a McCole Hardman or a Sky Moore, but we've seen more receiver things out of him than we've seen from those two. I mean, I will not argue anything different. Yeah.
So, like, what's the problem here? We've got a guy that can run the jet stuff that can actually kind of create a little bit more on that jet stuff with the contact balance, with the fluidity, with the change of direction ability. We've seen him go up and get the football. We've seen him run that little skip route. What more receiver things do you need to do to not get irrationally excited about? This is the 103rd pick in the draft and a 5th round pick or a 6th round pick.
Yeah, he's well worth the picks. He's well worth the picks.
What are we not getting excited about?
We're not getting fully excited because this team needs a receiver, and they already have 2 guys that can do the things that he does. Not maybe to the level that he's doing them, and that's fine. You want to say that you got better in those roles, sure. But man, if you're talking about this weekend, you're going to line him up and say, okay, you are slotting straight in for Juju Smith-Schuster, who is likely not going to play. No, you're not. Are you going to put him in the MVS role and say, okay, go run that route tree? No, you're probably not. So, you still got a receiver issue. Now, that being said, maybe Sky Moore develops into one of those. Kadarius Toney can be used in this role. There's still plenty of room for both of them. I'm not trying to say otherwise, and I'm excited about him for the future, but I think you still need Juju. You still need MVS.
But why can't the irrational excitement also be about the future? Like, I think
because
you've got to bake that in too
on this one.
You've got to take that into consideration too, because we're seeing all this stuff to get excited about, not just for this year, but like the next 3 because they have them under club control for the next 2 years. That's all.
Yeah.
Casey from KC, do the rookies get tired in the second half of the season, or do they continue their collective improvement? So there is a rookie wall. Like, some of these guys will hit this wall, but I think the thing that you have to the advantage of the Chiefs, I think, with maybe not everybody across the board, but some players, let's talk about Trent McDuffie. Is he going to hit the rookie wall in week 8? Is he going to hit the rookie wall in week 13 after he's only played 5 games, 6 games, whatever it is? I think that some of these guys, like Isaiah Pacheco, really didn't have a huge role in the first half of the season, and now he's going to come on strong. Sky Moore, I don't think he's hitting the wall. He hasn't got to play too much. I think the volume and the usage for some of these guys makes me think that you're probably not going to see them hit that same kind of wall. Maybe not everybody across the board. Maybe a guy that's got thrown in the fire a little bit, like a Jalen Watson or Joshua Williams, maybe. But George Karlaftis could be one. But I don't think so.
I do think, and I wrote an article about this earlier this week, so go to that Substack, click the link right down here, and then while you're down there clicking that link, hit like, share, subscribe. Help us out. But I wrote an article about Steve Spagnuolo's midseason turns and how those have kind of synced up over the years, whether or not they're real, what factors have kind of factored into either hot starts or quick turnarounds and things like that. And by and large, it has come with the health and involvement of rookies along with some of this stuff. So there are elements of this where the rookies get more put on their plate as the season goes along. It's why I was kind of excited to see Trent McDuffie come in, because I thought, hey, maybe we're going to start seeing more varied coverage schemes. Maybe we're going to start seeing some more stuff out of the back end of the secondary, and we haven't yet. But maybe that's still coming. And if that comes, there's a good chance that all of a sudden all these teams that have been watching all this tape of the Chiefs, which they don't have any tape of all these rookie corners. All they have at the NFL level is just the Chiefs running this cover 2, static cover 2. They're turning around and start throwing some wrinkles.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Like, those are unscouted looks. Those are things that are difficult. And I'm sure teams are looking at Spagnuolo's history. It's not like they're going to be completely caught off guard by some of this stuff, but there are elements here that I'm sure they're working on that these rookies are going to be put in even better chances to succeed. So I think that this group especially, yes, they can hit a rookie wall, but I think this group especially is kind of tailor-made to overcome some of that stuff. It's the football character. I mean, we said it 32,000 times during the draft when we were covering it live. It's football character. And I think all these guys are ready for that, are bought in. And so I don't know that we're going to see the wall get hit this year. I think they're going to get stronger.
Isaac Hugh and Abe Froman kind of tag team this. So we got who does the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank voiceover. I'm not going to do the impression. I probably could do it, but I'm not going to start the lab episode. And he also asks, and then Abe Froman asks where the sweet guitar riff comes from. So I don't remember who did the voiceover. I can't tell you that for sure. I wish I had a better answer. I think the guitar riff is just like a royalty-free music that we have, you have access to. It's kind of like, and this reminds me of a story of the AP Laboratory. I remember, so like the song for that, it was like the 8-bit sound.
The little chip tune thing, yeah.
Oklahoma State for their recruiting class did like a video game theme and used the exact same song that we were using for our show. So like it's not some music we like own necessarily. It's we paid for the right to use it, but it's not like it's like a royalty free music that So that's the story behind that. That's most podcasts you like have. The same thing.
I know, but I mean, we could have lied and said, "Oh yeah, Maddie is an excellent guitar player," and BJ just drops his voice like 3 octaves and read that.
Abe Froman asks, "What is Rojo's outlook for the rest of the season? Any chance he'll be back next year?" I think there's 0 chance he's back next year, and I don't know if there's a role for him. I think he's inventory right now. That sounds kind of like a dehumanizing thing to say, but like that's kind of what it feels like. It feels like he's inventory at the running back position. It sounds like he wanted to be released, very much so. But yeah, I don't think there's a role for him. So you have something to add?
Yeah, if Eno Benjamin, the Chiefs put in a claim on Eno Benjamin this week. If they had landed him, guess who wouldn't be on the roster anymore? Yeah,
that should tell you all you need to know. Casey Chris, what is a realistic best case and worst case scenario for Sky Moore's career trajectory through the end of his rookie contract? I'd be honest with you guys. I don't think there's a reason to be like overly negative or positive about the outlook of his career. It's just so early. And I know some people are going to say, well, McColl got involved very quickly. Well, McColl had a very defined role on a less deep receiving group. McColl was competing against Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson. There's a lot more depth and competition. Maybe not the top tier guy, but 2 through 4 is a lot deeper. So he hasn't been able to break through in a major way yet. But I think you see elements of reason to be excited. Give him time to pick up that offense. I don't really have a ton of concerns about him finding a role long term.
Yeah.
No, yes, anything else?
No, I fully agree with all of that. I'm not worried about him. I'm also not super hyped at this point, especially since Kadarius Toney walked right in and they found a role for him.
Yeah.
So I clearly got a different role playing for Sky Moore. I just want to see more of what that role is supposed to be.
Worst case scenario, he's a 300-yard receiver at the end. He's got, he's like a Demarcus Robinson. That's the low end. High end, I think he can be an 800-yard, 900-yard receiver still. I still think that's in his range of outcomes. Kay Gumminger, what is your cold weather game day hack when going to Arrowhead that you're most proud of? I have one. Do you have one?
I mean, it
Yours
largely
is just-
involves drinking.
I was gonna say, yeah, yours is probably I just drink a lot of beer. So mine is
And I hug everybody that I see and just get body warmth from everybody I see. And I think Christian's asking that to stay warm while he's taking the kids around there for our charity event. So you shouldn't just get drunk and hug random people while you're walking the charity kids around.
I don't know if this is good. I'm probably gonna have someone tell me after this, like, you probably shouldn't do this. I take hand warmers and put them in my shoe.
Yeah.
And I know there's specific feet warmers, but like I stick it on the top of my foot, like on the top of my toes. And I don't know if you're technically supposed to do that, but it's worked well for me. Like it's not the same. It's like the top of the toes. It's worked wonderfully, but you know it gets a little toasty by the end of the day. Robbie asks how Justin Reed is doing. We were so hyped for him in the offseason, but I continue to see him blow plays. What do you think?
Yeah, the Justin Reed question is one of those that, I've been trying to kind of avoid talking about it too much because the Chiefs are playing fairly static on the back end. You know, they're not asking a ton of their safeties to rotate around and do too terribly much. But as we've seen the season go along, he hasn't been particularly good. Neither he nor Juan Thornhill. They're struggling to react quickly to the boundary to try and get over and try and help some of these guys. And when you're playing cover 2, you have to have safeties that could definitely do that because they're just playing half of the field. And then when they're filling the alley, they're not doing a good job tackling. When they're asked to come up and run support, they're not really playing through blockers very well, which, I mean, it's a safety, so there's only so much you can ask them to do. But they're being put in these positions, and they're not looking good in, like, any of them. And I think that is the big issue there. It's not just that, Spagnol's running cover 2 all the time. You know, they're not giving them a chance to do X, Y, Z, move these guys around and all that. They've now been in these same shells for pretty much the entire season. And I haven't seen an improvement for many of these guys. If anything, they may have gotten a little bit worse. And it's a little bit worrisome because it is a guy that we like, and we like the skill set. It is the same with Juan. Like the skill set, like the player, don't necessarily like the on-field product as it stands right now. So I'd like to see some improvement. There's still plenty of time. I mean, hell, there were years over the past 3 seasons where we pointed to Tyrann Mathieu and be like, man, he is slipping. And then right at the end of the year, all of a sudden it's like, oh, never mind. There's that dude again.
Yeah.
That matters. So I there's still plenty of time. Spagnuolo knows how to get the most out of his safety. So does Dave Merritt. He really is a great safety coach. So I want to see a little bit more, but I have been thoroughly whelmed so far this season by Justin Reed.
I think it's fair. I think it's all entirely fair. Very whelmed. Whelmed is the right word. And there are some lowlights that probably stick with some people. I want to shout out Leighton Y44. He asked a Frank Clark question as well as very similar. I'll just add a little anecdote before we get out. I called him Lay Tony on mailbag episodes back in the day at AP. So sorry, buddy. I finally figured it out. It took me like halfway through, but I called him Lay Tony for the longest time. That's been 21 questions. Thank you for everyone that has asked some questions. Thanks for everyone that supports KC Sports Network. We love doing this. And we love answering questions from the KCSN Discord. We'll catch y'all later.